Hello and welcome back. Because of some technical difficulty during our Jimmy Carter lecture part one, I'm going to finish off the Carter administration in this lecture. So this should be a short one. We left off with talking about Carter and some of his success, right, in foreign policy, and that'll be the Camp David Accords. Israel has been at war with all of its neighbors essentially since its inception, and so and so all through the 50s, 60s, and 70s, peace in the Middle East is something that America has been hoping for and working for, really. And even to this day, peace in the Middle East is a major foreign policy focus of the United States. Well, Carter's actually going to make a pretty good step in the right direction there. No Middle Eastern country or Muslim country, because we're talking about Egypt. Egypt is Africa, not the Middle East, even though everybody refers to it as that. The none of these countries, their neighbors have a peace treaty with Israel. Essentially, Israel's been attacked multiple times by its neighbors. The Israeli military is supported by the American military. Like they buy a lot of their stuff from us, so they're extremely well equipped. They're extremely well trained. As a matter of fact, today they've got a munitions industry to where they're not completely dependent on the American military. But either way, the none of Israel's neighbors has made peace with Israel. Well, Carter's going to call the Egyptian president and the Israeli prime minister into the United States at Camp David to work out a peace agreement. And so the Israeli prime minister, Menachem Begin, right here, and Anwar Sadat, right over here, are going to come together, and they're going to sign a peace treaty. And so this is going to be one of the first of its kind, and later, Carter will win a Nobel Peace Prize for it. And so this is a huge step in the right direction. Now, unfortunately for Anwar Sadat, the Middle East will view him as a traitor for this, and he's going to be assassinated essentially because of this. But it is a step towards, peace in the Middle East, and it's a small step because clearly we're still not there yet. But it is movement in the right direction. We're also going to see that Carter is going to finish Nixon's normalization with China, and so which is a super important relationship today, right? I mean, they're one of our strongest trading partners. Our economies are completely intertwined, and so this is going to open up China to American products and services. It's going to open up the American market to Chinese goods and services, which are less expensive, and so the Americans can buy more stuff. And because the two countries have normalized relations, what's also going to happen is America's going to have some influence on China, and they're going to start to relax their communist policies. China is still communist in name today, but they have started to adopt many capitalist, aspects to their economy. And so, and as that's happened, and as China has had some economic growth, they've had a growth in the middle class, and so you start to see some humanitarian situation in China get better. It's still not great. I mean, there's still political prisoners, the Uyghurs and whatnot in China. I mean, it's not great, but it is slow progress. The downside to that is it voids all treaties signed with Taiwan, and so today that's a really touchy subject. Remember, Taiwan is where the Chinese nationalist government fled to. It was the island of Formosa, and it was controlled by China. And it's really the American military that keeps Taiwan afloat today. And so all of our treaties end up being voided with Taiwan because of this normalization. And so that situation has gotten a little bit more complicated over time. And then Afghanistan. Afghanistan will be invaded during the Carter administration, and so Russia sends, a bunch of troops to help the pro-Soviet regime and put down a Muslim insurgency, and that's going to end up being, Afghanistan is the Soviet Union's version of Vietnam, right? It's the guerrilla warfare that they're just not going to be able to win, and so Carter, because of that, is going to start to cancel some of the it's going to start to cancel grain shipments to Russia. Remember that we had talked about before with détente. And so we're going to kind of back off détente a little bit. And, because of the Soviet aggression here. I think most importantly, though, is that because we have a situation in Afghanistan where there's a civil war, communists and non-communists, guess who America ends up supporting? Non-communists. One of those non-communists is a Muslim extremist by the name Osama bin Laden, and so American equipment and American training is going to find its way to Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan during this conflict, and so we really kind of create. We don't create him, but we help to empower a guy that's later going to attack America on 9/11. And again, we have supported bad people because we think they're better than worse people, communists. Now, is that always, are the people we support always worse or better than the communists? I would say in this case, probably not. I don't know. Pretty subjective. All right, that concludes our lesson on Jimmy Carter, our lecture on Jimmy Carter. I apologize for the technical difficulties. I wish I was better with technology and could have just edited that, but this was the easier route. So I appreciate it. That's all for this lecture, and I will see you again shortly with a lecture on the Reagan administration. Thank you very much.